Listen, McCooks, Mr. Bill, it is an honor to have you here. I'd like you to take your hat off in a remembrance of a man that passed away that I knew. Bud Janicke. I didn't know him well enough to ever call him a friend, though we did eat meals together at mutual places that we worked for, different ranches. First time I ever met him was at my wedding. He was friends with my wife's family, and they had a little 4-year-old boy, so we grabbed him and had him be our ring bearer at that wedding. The first time I ever saw him work, though, we had a stump that we needed to get out of there, probably 5 foot across cottonwood stump. The tree was gone, but the stump was still there. Needed to be gotten out of there because it was just high enough that their new rolling alfalfa irrigation wouldn't work on that with that stump there. Bud came over then, and he went around and told us what to do. We all grabbed post hole diggers and started digging on each side of that giant old stump. Maybe 3 foot off of the stump itself, down into the ground we went. Maybe 8 to 10 sticks of dynamite, I didn't count, when they was packing the dynamite down in there. And he run wire with blasting cap, and they got back to a reasonably safe distance, and he set it off, and that old stump just raised out of the ground and tipped over on its side. That was not his first rodeo. He knew how to handle dynamite, absolutely. He also had a well drilling operation for water, and so he and Dennis Kappelman, wonderful shooter, one of the best I've ever seen in my life. Dennis Kappelman and Bud decided to drill a hole down on Mr. Janicke's property and to get down in there for natural gas. They'd been told by experts there's natural gas down there, so down the hole they drilled. Pretty soon the old earth started shaking and it exploded, and pipes started shooting out every direction and coming down just as fast as they was going up. And absolutely, those two were running for their lives. Miracle somebody didn't get hurt, maybe even killed that day. I have my own story of him. I was downtown here, getting out of my car to go into the store, and Bud Janicke came out, and he walked over to my car, and he said, "This your junker car or your fishing car or something?" And I said, "No, only got one car and this is it." He said, "Ooh." He said, "Man, that don't look very good." He said, "You need to get a better car." And I said, "That's about all I want to spend or afford right now." We were having it tight and a hard time at that time in our lives. He said, "Well, wait a minute." He said, your father-in-law is pretty well to do. Tell him to get you a car. Or if nothing else, ask to borrow some money from him to get you a better car." And I said, well, first off, I'd never ask him for anything, number one. Number two, I couldn't afford the payments, no matter what they were, because we're having it pretty tight right now. But that car that cost $400 that you're looking at, I've had it for 6 years with one major breakdown that cost $1,000 back in the early 1980s. And I said, it's running fine before and since. Now I have no qualms of jumping in that car and going to Denver or Estes Park or Lincoln, whatever I want to do, I'll go. I have no problems with it. I have trust in that car. And he said, I wouldn't trust it to go to the next town. And I said, well, each to their own. But I never did have trouble with that car to speak of. Never did dump me someplace else, so I had to get a ride home, I'll put it that way. But that was Bud Janicke. He's passed now. Again, I tipped my hat to a man I knew, and I respected his abilities. And he was a mellow man. Thank you for your time.